Kingdom Come series does a lot of things really well. The characters are interesting.
Even that dog turd looks tempting.
The world is absolutely stunning, and your decisions have real weight behind them. However, there are a few things it does not do very well, such as balancing combat in the newest installment. Sure, at first when you start the game, you'll get by gaggles of stinky ruffians, but after obtaining just a few pieces of armor, you're practically invincible and damn near one-shotting everything. So how does one like myself stay entertained when combat falls so flat early in the game? I do suppose I have something else I could play with instead. It's light in the hand, smooth, but worn down in places due to years of abuse. It's not very big by any means, but if you grab the base and go hard, it gets the job done. I'm of course referring to the wooden training sword.
You think I means big, huge salami in my hose, eh?
At an impressive 10 blunt damage, it is by far the weakest weapon in all of Bohemia. But if Henry can complete the entire game from start to finish with such a pathetic choice of armament, the bards will surely sing of his feats for centuries to come. So here are the rules. In and out of combat, I can only use a wooden sword to defend myself and deal damage. That also means no stealth kills and absolutely no mutt. On top of that, just because we hate ourselves, we're doing the entire playthrough nude. Armor and fancy duds are just too strong. This means every single fight will rely solely on Henry's sword skills, and considering the late game enemies literally kill you in one hit, it'll be interesting to see just how strong we can make this pathetic little weapon. I think that's enough exposition. Now let's see if I can beat Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 using only a wooden sword.
Put some clothes on, you scoundrel.
War. War never changes. Except for when it does. Like, for instance, in this game, war changed because they all have guns now.
My story starts as all do, in the beginning, which is technically the end, but it's not the end because we just started. Therefore, making it the beginning and not the end. There are no wooden swords in the intro, so I used a strategy I often employed during my days working in the food industry. I call it pretend like you're helping. Without a single death on my conscience, I actually start the game.
We have to fight with our cocks.
Almost immediately, Hans and myself are rubbing wood in an exchange of soft and gentle blows. Once we were spent, we bathed together, only to be interrupted by vile, buxom wenches. When we showed no interest, they revealed their true nature as assassins and shot me as I tried to swim away. Their guards hunted us to the ends of the earth, and somewhere along the way, I was injured. But the spirit of my dead parents came inside of me, and together with Hans' help, we survived. When I awoke, I was face to face with the hag who ate my mother.
I ate your ma, laddie.
A few kind witchers eventually showed up to drive the hag out, so I showed them where she was hiding in the pantry. Unfortunately, the hag's evil dog lackey slaughtered both of the brave hunters in single combat. I knew I couldn't stay here long, or I'd be next. So when Hans woke up, I stole literally all of the food that I could and bolted. Hopefully the hag will just starve now. The game forces clothes onto Henry multiple times throughout the playthrough, so just assume I took them off at my first opportunity. When we arrived at Trotsky Castle, they refused to receive us, but they were kind enough to use some sort of spell to remove all of my poop off of Capon. We're forced to convene at the local tavern, and since Hans didn't help with unloading the cart, I didn't help as he tried to beat off 6 guys. Now we find ourselves clapped in the stockades, where I refuse to fight with Hans. Sometimes you just need your friend to keep quiet so that you can unload on him. Finally, after like 2 hours, the world opens up and I can prepare for my journey. First things first, I'll be needing coin. I sold everything on my person for just a few lockpicks and waited for nightfall. When people are sleeping in KCD2, it is significantly easier to pickpocket them, allowing for plenty of time with practically no experience. With the tailor's key, we can open his chest and steal the absurd amount of coin and expensive clothing he has stashed. Next, I'll be needing a horse. On my way to Samin, the RNG gods showed me favor and blessed my run with an incredibly lucky spawn. These roadside camps can have different groups appear randomly. This one just so happened to be 2 men sparring with training swords. I thought I was in the clear and went to snatch one, only to be caught red-handed and chased by one of them for damn near a mile. After he cut a giant gash into my back, I realized I wasn't getting away. I would need to stand and fight. I pleaded for the ruffian to be gentle. This is my first time in combat. His was harder and longer. I mean, I really didn't stand a chance. I took a couple blows to the face and returned some as well. The exchange took an excruciating 3 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. Finally, I emerged victorious. But keep in mind, that was one unarmored peasant. This game throws 5, sometimes 6 or more enemies at you all at once. If I'm gonna survive an onslaught like that, I've got a lot more work to do. I went to see the miller and start his mission, but only so I can sell some stolen clothes and get a place to sleep. After that, I went back to the hag's hut and began crafting as many savior schnapps and marigold decoction as I could. The entire time I'm grinding away at potions, I had to listen to this.
Will you help an old woman, young man? Will you help me, Henry? It's not usual for her to be gone where is that girl, Henry? Dawdley? I ain't your ma, laddie.
All right. Fine. Jesus Christ, you want me to find her? There, I found her. You're welcome. This guy may look like a peasant, but he swings a sword like an ogre. Some of his attacks were taking half of my health, and he easily beat me multiple times. If I can't even handle one yokel with a hunting sword, what the hell am I gonna do against the army of real soldiers standing in my way? I started to feel a bit demoralized, weak, stinky, just a stupid little naked man with a toy sword. But I'm not one to give up so easily, and I know just what to do. Start the training montage!
This is madness. This is...
May not be glorious, but this is one of the most effective ways to get your strength up. Strength is a crucial stat for combat. It determines how difficult your attacks are to parry and how much additional damage you do when you strike an enemy. While there are multiple ways to increase strength, this method can be done AFK. I perfect it later on. If you fill Henry to the brim with too many loads, he'll get over encumbered, and each step will give strength XP. He just needs to walk in one singular direction for hours on end to level up his strength. I just placed something heavy over the forward key on my keyboard and ran off to watch some Game of Thrones. Every now and then I would have to come back and get him unstuck from a rock or fence, but it gets the job done without fighting bandits for hours on end. At the end of it all, I managed to get Henry's strength to 14 and even got a few perks to increase the sword's damage.
Are you yanking my pizzle?
Time to test it out. Now there are 2 wooden swords in the game, one a short sword and the other a long sword. I've always preferred the short sword for both its ability to quickly interrupt attacks and also the perk Gladiator, which makes them even stronger when not using a shield. But strength only gets us so far. Now it's time to learn how to properly master the blade.
I like you so much. Would you like to come with me now? I want to show you.
Tomcat quickly teaches us how to do combos and of course master strikes. I was forced to put on armor for the 1v1, but it didn't really matter considering he didn't land a single hit on me. While master strikes are cool and all, they are practically worthless to someone swinging a sword made of oak. Combos, however, do much more damage, so that's what we'll be trying to use every time we're in combat. Now allow me to illuminate how combat really works in KCD2. The developers would have you believe that this big red health bar and these big fat numbers on weapons actually matter, but that is not the case. The only thing that matters is the stamina bar, regardless of what weapon you're using. If my sword is only doing 12 or so damage, explain to me how it just did half this enemy's health. This is the health bar, by the way. It took me forever to figure that out in the first game. The best way to kill someone with any weapon is to land hits and combos while their stamina is low. This seems to add some sort of multiplier to your damage, allowing something as pathetic as a wooden sword to become as lethal as a well-sharpened blade. Watch this combat interaction closely. At first, the enemy is blocking and attacking like normal, but after 2 or 3 exchanges, they just stand there, begging to be murdered. This is because they're low on stamina and waiting for it to regenerate. This is your opportunity to take advantage, even if you are also low on stamina. However, the same rules apply to you. If you get hit while your stamina is low, it multiplies the enemy's damage. But what if we just had a massive stamina pool? It would remove the risk factor, essentially making every 1v1 a cakewalk. We'll come back to that later. For now, we've got a wedding to catch. After learning how to blacksmith, I hunted down some wormwood to make Artemisia potions, which increased my strength. Then I hopped on my horse and joined the 2 old farts in getting their cargo back from some bandits. If you pop some booze right before a fight, it also gives you some additional strength as well, which really helped to destroy these losers. The next quest had me killing a hermit, throwing him in the shitter, and pelting his body with rocks. If you know where the sword is, you can head straight there, problem solved. Now the wedding in Samine begins a chain of events that has you locked into questing for quite a while, so I went ahead and did some more power walking. This is where I perfected the power walking method by remapping a key to make Henry look left. That way, with something heavy over both the forward and look left key, he just walks in circles, allowing me to go watch some more Game of Thrones. I only ever watched that one episode. This time, I was able to get my strength to 23, as well as my vitality. Can you guess which stat determines how much stamina you have? Yeah, we're cooking now, people. Once again, I was forced into clothes, but they were removed the second the door was shut behind me.
Get dressed! You're at a wedding, for God's sake!
Okay, it's not letting me move forward unless I put clothes back on. All these people are having such a wonderful time here at the wedding, and I'm here to stop that. I immediately got way too drunk and stole every single article of food and hid it upstairs in the stinky-ass barn. A beautiful lass wanted to dance with me, but it turned out to be yet another assassination attempt. This one was aiming for the veins in my feet. I can't kill her, but I gave her a few warning shots near the head to let her know I'm not messing around. This would-be assassin can even be seen later eating lice straight out of the bride's hair. During the tournament, I managed to beat off the groom and the bailiff's son. What?
Nice work, Henry. He wasn't an easy opponent.
But old man Seaman has a lot more endurance than his age would suggest. A drunken fool caught me trying to strangle the bride in the pantry, and a big old fight broke out. Hans and myself were arrested, but at least we finally have some alone time.
We have to fight with our cocks.
The guards were disgusted by our love and decided to hang Hans as an example. If I want to save him, I'll need to heal Captain Thomas. There's a few wooden swords in the courtyard, so we're sure to grab them for later. To free Hans, I stole some lockpicks from the smith, broke into an herb chest, and crafted the hardest potion I've ever made.
He is sentenced to be hanged by the neck!
No, I'm joking. Hans goes free, and we do some errands for von Berghoff. While at the fort, another beautiful lass is practically throwing herself at my feet. But I know her secret. I read online that if you help her with the flowers, that she takes you into the bush and chokes you till you spew everywhere. Not today, assassin! Now you'll never hurt anyone ever again. Unfortunately, I will come to regret this decision later, but we'll get there. The men occupying the fort are apparently bandits. We learned that from this man that we were casually torturing.
I'm not saying anything. Do as you will. We've got a connection in the region. Older! Sammy!
Now that we've gathered a host, we're off to take back the fort. This should be pretty easy with this many check please.
Nice one.
Nice one. After handing out splinters like it's candy, we're forced to 1v1 their captain.
So, my boy, let's see what you got.
Oh! Dude, we absolutely destroyed him. We already know that the person with the higher stamina wins these 9 times out of 10. I'm just curious as to how we managed to cut his eye with a piece of wood. For the first time since the intro, we switched to Father Godwin. This man starts with a real metal sword, and that is not allowed. However, the game locks the player into the surrounding area. This prevents us from leaving to go and find a wooden sword. Thankfully, I thought of this ahead of time and stored a wooden sword for him in Henry's stash. This section is over pretty quick. Godwin isn't nearly as much of a beast as Sweet Henry, but with all this help, how could we fail? Now this is where the game just completely breaks and I'm paid back for Clara's murder. Every single time I load in as Henry, the guards are trying to arrest me for murder. The punishment for murder is a hanging and it gives you a game over screen, which means I'm literally hard locked out of progressing the game any further. By the time this video comes out, maybe it's been patched, but god damn it, this was so frustrating. I ended up loading back before the battle in the woods and played through the entire section again, hoping that this would fix something. When I loaded in, I'm still wanted for murder, but the guards inside the gates don't seem to care. When I go outside to bury the bodies with Godwin, they still try to arrest me. So I managed to lure one of the guards out of town and destroy him in single combat, get shit on. Then, if I just sneak past the others, I can somehow manage to complete the mission. Thankfully, after this, the issue didn't persist, but this took hours to figure out. Really, just not cool.
Kara, what in the hell?
Wait, how is she alive? What am I getting in trouble for? During the siege, you really only have to push the ladders down and fight in the courtyard. Shortly after, our merry band of bandits gets fingered by God, and we're right back in captivity. Henry has no problem dishing out torture, but when on the receiving end for even a millisecond, he sings like a little songbird. Toth goes back to his chambers, and Catherine saves our 4 skins. You know, she really reminds me of somebody from One Piece, but for the life of me, I just can't figure out who. It's on the tip of my tongue, really. Oh well.
I'm in one piece.
Not my best setup, but I found the hat, so I had to squeeze that in there somewhere. This is where I encountered the second major roadblock during this run. You can't proceed in this quest until you kill Istvan Toth. Since it triggers a cutscene as soon as you enter his vicinity, your only options are to duel him or stab him. I currently do not have a wooden sword though, since my things were confiscated. Even if I run upstairs where my things are, I can't open any of the doors. Henry's stash is also gone, so that's not an option. I guess I could load all the way back and stash a wooden sword in a cupboard. Nope, can't do that either, because that same bug from earlier just wouldn't let me move the quest forward. In a moment of desperation, I began to ransack the castle and look for any potential wall clippings or really anything to get my equipment back. I did actually find this spot right past the scribe's room where you can crouch and clip through the wall and hop onto these rocks. From here, you can get stuck in the building below, fall to your death, or get on top of the walkway. Using a pain reliever I got from the physician's room, I was just barely able to survive this fall and actually break out of the castle, only to be met with a failsafe. The devs must have seen that coming. This failsafe triggers no matter where I jump out. I had a lot of fun experimenting with this, but after 3 hours of brainstorming, I realized I had no other option. If you choose to dispatch Istvan dishonorably, it plays a cutscene where you stab him with a knife. I would consider this to not be a violation of the rules. This interaction had no combat at all, and there are other cutscenes where we can be seen punching people even though I didn't actually punch anyone. But it just feels bad that Henry's arch nemesis didn't get to taste his wood. After escaping Trotsky, our gang finds themselves in Kuttenberg. Lord Pissneck lets us stay the night, and in the morning we're off to save Capon and find the Dry Devil. At the Devil's Den, we meet one of my favorite characters, Kubinka. This man is a true degenerate and alcoholic. With piss that dark yellow, it's clear that water has never once touched his liver. My first taste of combat in this region is a bit of a wake-up call. The enemies in the second half of the game are not the same pushovers we were destroying in Trotsky. I'll need more strength, more stamina, and better sword skills if I'm to survive here. After saving the Dry Devil, I went power walking for the last time. At the end of it, both strength and vitality are completely maxed out.
I'm straight! I like women only!
I love this game sincerely. This is my game of the year, but there's one thing I really wish Warhorse would change, and it's the ceiling for Henry's stats. There are tons of perks like Leshy that boosts strength and vitality, but when you hit 30, all of a sudden that perk is useless. This is a really long game, and even without doing the power walking method, you still hit the cap pretty quick if you're actually doing side quests and taking your time. I just don't want a perk like Leshy and potions like the Artemisia to become worthless like 3/4 of the way through the game. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, this is the most amount of damage and the most amount of stamina we'll ever have, right? Wrong. There are still other very broken potions we can use to take this even further. I spent quite a while power leveling alchemy until it hit 16 and I could make the Henry version of potions, which gives powerful secondary effects to everything I brew. Henry's Artemisia boosts strength, but the second bonus also reduces my stamina consumption by a massive 35% when attacking. Henry's Buck's Blood not only increases stamina by 60%, but also regeneration by 30%. Last but not least, Henry's Painkiller reduces the effects of injuries and leaves us our giant stamina bar even when we're on the brink of death. If our Henry can throw one of each of these before combat, he can essentially attack non-stop, making any 1v1 in the game a cakewalk, unless they master strike you, of course. Also keep in mind, I'm still using a wooden sword, and the game doesn't often give you 1v1s. In fact, I recently had to take on 8 men coming from all sides. So let's break down how to survive being outnumbered. And I've got a really good strategy, so pay attention. In all seriousness, if you run away from the group attacking you, they tend to thin out and go back to camp, allowing you to fight them in smaller packs. Even then, you'll still find yourself in a 3v1 on occasion, so your best plan of attack is to be patient and not go all in as you normally would. First, you'll want to rotate or back up away from whoever is flanking you on your sides. The enemies you aren't locked onto are waiting for you to attack or for your stamina to get low, so never give them the opportunity. Work over one enemy just a little, but do not overextend. Then switch to another. If one gets behind you, just reposition and keep an eye on your flank. Little by little, you'll chip away their health until they all die one by one. Keep in mind though, if you have a real weapon and full plate armor with this setup, you can absolutely destroy any group you come across because your stamina just never gets low. But now that we have an absolutely shredded Henry and enough drugs to kill an elephant, we can start finishing the main quest. After speaking to Liechtenstein, we find out Hans is being held at Malashov Fortress. If we want to get in, first we need to blackmail the Master of Coin. No problem, we'll just run through these dank dark caves talking to miners. I blow the lid right off the silver conspiracy just to turn around and give the operation to someone else. I know I'm hyping up how OP this build is, but I'm still not wearing armor, which makes these kinds of group fights kind of frustrating.
Who the fuck? Are you yanking my pizzle?
With all the information I need about Malashov, I sneak in and watch Eric do his best impression of an owl. I found Hans, and instead of sneaking to the horses, I just lured all the guards to the French guy, who is actually a very good fighter. Now that everyone's dead, we can leave. Now with all my potions and strength, nothing could have possibly prepared me for the intensity of this next mission. I found a knife in someone's office, and while I could probably use it on Sigismund, I'm tempted to just use it on myself to escape the monotony. I will admit though, it was super cool to see the king after hearing so much about him, though he didn't quite look how I imagined. The game has us play as Godwin for a bit longer, and thankfully he still has the wooden longsword I gave him earlier. I unfortunately wasn't able to save his brother's life. I just can't kill anyone here fast enough, plus Godwin has none of the broken potions that Henry does. But while spying as a waiter, I learned that the Jewish quarter is about to be ransacked, so we rush to save Samuel's people. And this is one of the reasons I really like Kubienka. He owes these people absolutely nothing, and a real piece of shit would just turn tail and save his own hide. But no, my man stays and fights with me and Samuel like a true brother in arms. Pretty much all the enemies from here forward are full plate chads with too much stamina, and I'm really starting to struggle. But I can see the finish line. It's right there, and I'm not giving up this far into the playthrough. The following quest was a lot of fun. Catherine really is a cool character, so working with her was great. Plus, you know I love a good murder mystery. Musa goes free and the Devil's Pack easily steals the Finger of God from Sigismund. The time comes for us to assault Malashov, and Henry is given a really tough decision. I'm doing something of an evil playthrough, so I just told them to burn the village, but I'll be honest, I had no idea it would be this bad. The game spends so much time making you fall in love with the Devil's Pack, but after this, I don't know, man. It really kind of felt like they were the bad guys. We're able to easily penetrate Malashov and even threaten to burn down the whole tower if von Berghoff didn't come out. Whilst in captivity, he helps us to hatch a plan straight out of GTA 5. We're to disguise ourselves as Italian priests and infiltrate Sigismund's checking account. This is easily the most fun I had through the entire campaign. Playing as Godwin felt like that bit from Inglourious Bastards. And of course, Henry got plenty of combat to satiate his bloodthirst. I'm supposed to stealth kill the guards at this part, but that's not how we roll. I managed to lure them into a choke point and slowly take them out one by one. I'd also like to point out that Zizka has my favorite catchphrase that I've ever heard in a video game.
All right, man. To the task!
It's short, it's sweet, and it's versatile. Once I've thoroughly looted the entire castle, Eric and his men chase us all the way back to Pissneck's fortress. Don't you do it! Don't you do it! No! Go, Bianca, no! Oh, he's alive. From here, it's just battle after battle after battle. I realized I should probably show my fight with Eric, so I'm coming at you from the editor's booth with live commentary. Those master strikes, they sure are disgusting. However, one thing Eric didn't take into account is that I can just spam left click 24/7, whereas he cannot. All he can do is lazily try to block all of my blows until we have absolutely pushed in his bussy. There was a part of this quest when we were all starving and dying that I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get past. You have to knock down, I think, 4 ladders while you only get a few soldiers to help you fight. I don't know how many times I died here, but it was a lot. I couldn't fight this many soldiers in full plate all by myself. I truly don't know how I managed to beat it. I just know the few men helping me didn't die as fast and we were able to knock the ladders down. Eventually, Henry is given an order to escape the castle with Samuel and ride out to find help. Somehow, in the 10 seconds it took me to rappel down the castle wall, Samuel got captured by the backstabbing French guy. And I wasn't about to make a deal with a turncoat, so a 1v1 it is. Now this guy has got some moves. He also uses a short sword with no shield, making his attacks fast. But mixed with how much damage he was doing, I was just barely able to beat him on my 3rd try.
I've had a tough evening, Henry. I do not think I can get up.
Alright, bye. In the morning, just as the Proggers are about to breach the courtyard, Henry rides in with a massive company of soldiers to save the day. I think this guy's supposed to be the hardest enemy in the game, kinda like a final boss maybe, but I'm literally a cracked out roid monster and I eat 1v1s for breakfast. Von Owlitz ended up dying from the wound that Dry Devil gave him, hilarious. And at the end of it all, my parents were pissed at how I behaved. I mean, Jesus, they really scolded me. And that concludes the run. With enough knowledge of the game's combat system, you can indeed beat KCD2 from start to finish with only a wooden sword. It was frustrating, time-consuming, and all around one of the most difficult runs I've done, but boy did I enjoy every second of it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is no doubt my game of the year, and playing it this much has really inspired me for many more videos. So, be sure to let me know if you want to see more. Here are some of the stats from the run. It took roughly 40 hours of gameplay to complete, and for a challenge run, that's just insane. Huge shout out to the members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Members get access to perks like ad-free access to regular uploads and a members badge. If you're interested in becoming a member, see the description for more details. I'll see you all in the next one. Later.
Kurwa! I'm wounded! It's a...